Section 1. The galactic hub of Zanthia was a marvel of civilization, a gleaming metropolis suspended in the void where dozens of species converge to trade, negotiate, and indulge in the endless variety of interstellar culture. In one of its bustling market districts, beneath towering spires of crystalline architecture and floating holoads, Captain Rowan Vance strolled casually, sipping from a steaming cup of Earth Standard tea. "Captain!" A voice chimed in through his earpiece, tinged with frustration. It belonged to Ellis, his eternally skeptical first mate. "Are you really walking around drinking tea while we're supposed to be securing a shipment of helixite?" Rowan smirked, pausing to take a long sip of his drink. "Ellis, the helixite deal is boring logistics. We've got smarter people handling that. Besides, this tea is worth savoring. Imported from Earth. Strong enough to wake the dead." Ellis groaned. "You're impossible." Rowan was about to offer a retort when a commotion erupted nearby. A crowd of Zenthari, tall and insected, had gathered around a display stand where a nervous-looking merchant was showcasing vials of a viscous, shimmering liquid. Curious, Rowan wandered closer, his tea still in hand. The merchant, a rodent-like creature with twitching whiskers, gestured to the vials. "Step right up. Behold the galaxy's most potent toxin, harvested from the Threlian death bloom itself. One drop could incapacitate a chloric beast. Perfect for defense, sabotage, or negotiations." Rowan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. He leaned against a nearby stall, watching as the crowd murmured in awe. One particularly smug-looking Zenthari stepped forward, clicking its mandibles as it picked up a vial. "I'll take two," it declared, its voice a rasping buzz. "The humans have proven resilient, but this will ensure they cannot interfere with the Council's plans." Rowan froze, his smirk fading. "Interfere? With what exactly?" he muttered under his breath. As the Zenthari completed its transaction and slithered away, Rowan followed at a distance, his boots clicking against the polished walkway. He hadn't been on Zanthia long, but he'd already heard whispers of an alliance brewing between some of the galaxy's more aggressive factions. Humans, with their reputation for unpredictability and relentless adaptability, were an inconvenient wildcard. The Zenthari entered a private lounge, its holographic doors glowing faintly before sealing shut. Rowan cursed under his breath. Whatever they were planning, it wasn't good. He tapped his earpiece. "Ellis, we've got a problem. The Zenthari are buying weapons-grade toxins, and they specifically mentioned humans. I'm going to need a distraction." There was a pause, then a resigned sigh. "You can't just have one quiet day, can you?" Ellis's distraction came in the form of a drone malfunction conveniently staged near the lounge's entrance. As the Zenthari guards rushed to investigate, Rowan slipped inside, his tea still in hand. The room was dimly lit, its walls lined with ornate carvings depicting the Zenthari's victories. At the center was a large table where several alien figures sat, their faces tense. "We must act swiftly," the Zenthari leader was saying. "Human expansion threatens our hold on the outer colonies. The toxin will be deployed covertly, targeting their supply lines." Rowan's grip on his tea tightened. He could tolerate the usual interstellar politicking, but targeting civilians was crossing a line. Before he could slip away, his boots scuffed against the polished floor, drawing the attention of the nearest alien. It turned, its glowing eyes narrowing. "Who's there?" Thinking quickly, Rowan stepped forward, raising his cup as if in a toast. "Just a humble traveler enjoying the ambience. Lovely place you've got here." The room fell silent, the gathered aliens staring at him in disbelief. Finally, the Zenthari leader spoke, its voice dripping with suspicion. "And who, exactly, are you?" Rowan smiled disarmingly. "Captain Rowan Vance. Explorer, trader, occasional mischief maker. And you?" The tension in the room thickened as the aliens exchanged glances. One, a reptilian Thalaxian, hissed, "Humans have no business here." Rowan took a leisurely sip of his tea, deliberately ignoring the venom in its tone. "Well, I was curious about your little meeting. Toxins, conspiracies, all very dramatic. But you're overlooking one small problem." "And what is that?" the Zenthari leader demanded, its mandibles clicking angrily. Rowan held up his cup. Humans. We're annoyingly hard to kill. This? He gestured to his tea. This is brewed with leaves that contain alkaloids you'd consider lethal. To us, it's breakfast. The aliens recoiled slightly, their expressions ranging from shock to disgust. The Zanthia leader leaned forward, studying Rowan intently. You're bluffing. Rowan shrugged, taking another sip. Am I? Try me. The Zanthia leader hissed, clearly unnerved, but before it could respond, Ellis's voice crackled in Rowan's earpiece. Captain, we've got company. The guards are back, and they're not happy. Rowan sighed. And here I thought this was going to be a relaxing day. As the guards stormed into the lounge, Rowan threw the remnants of his tea at the nearest alien, the scalding liquid causing it to shriek and stumble. Chaos erupted as he dashed for the exit, dodging laser blasts and shouting into his earpiece. Ellis, get the ship ready. We've got a long day ahead. Section 2. The Eclipse runner was a blur of motion as Rowan sprinted up the gangway, narrowly avoiding a plasma bolt that seared past his shoulder. Behind him, a squad of Zanthia guards hissed and clicked, their weapons trained on him as they advanced. Ellis! Rowan shouted, his breath coming in short bursts. I could use some help here. Inside the ship, Ellis rolled his eyes and slammed a hand down on a control panel. Activating countermeasures. Try not to get vaporized before they kick in. As Rowan reached the top of the gangway, the Eclipse runner's automated defense systems roared to life. A turret deployed from the ship's hull, spitting a flurry of non-lethal ion blasts that sent the Zanthia scattering. Rowan grinned as he ducked inside, the gangway retracting behind him. Nice timing, he said, panting as he leaned against the wall. Ellis, standing at the ship's helm, shot him a withering look. One day, you'll learn to not poke the interstellar hornet's nest. Where's the fun in that? Rowan replied, straightening up. Besides, I've got intel. Big, toxic intel. Ellis raised an eyebrow. Toxic? Please don't tell me you've somehow brought poison on board. Not exactly, Rowan said, taking the pilot's seat. But the Zanthia are planning to use a weaponized toxin against humanity. We need to stop them before it's too late. The ship's engines roared to life as the Eclipse runner lifted off, weaving through the busy airspace above Zanthia. The Zanthia weren't about to let them go without a fight. A squadron of sleek, insectoid fighters peeled away from the station, their engines glowing an ominous green. Hostiles inbound. Lyra, the ship's AI, chimed in calmly. Of course there are, Ellis muttered, sliding into the co-pilot's seat. Any brilliant ideas, Captain? Rowan's grin returned. Brilliance is overrated. Let's improvise. Ellis groaned. That's what I was afraid of. The Zanthia fighters closed the gap quickly, their weapons lighting up the void with streaks of plasma. Rowan threw the Eclipse runner into a series of sharp rolls and dives, the ship's agility keeping them just ahead of the onslaught. Lyra, activate the decoy drones, Rowan commanded. Deploying, Lyra responded smoothly. From the ship's undercarriage, a cluster of small, glowing drones shot out, scattering in all directions. The Zanthia fighters hesitated, their targeting system struggling to differentiate between the decoys and the real ship. Works every time, Rowan said, smirking. The momentary reprieve allowed Ellis to focus on their next move. We can't keep running forever. What's the plan? Rowan adjusted the ship's heading, his expression growing serious. The merchant I saw selling the toxin, he mentioned it was harvested from the Threlian death bloom. That plant only grows on a handful of planets. Ellis caught on quickly. You think they're manufacturing the toxin on one of those planets? Exactly, Rowan replied. If we can find their production site and shut it down, we stop the weapon at its source. Brilliant, Ellis said dryly. And how do you propose we find this mystery factory? Rowan leaned back in his seat, his grin returning. We ask politely. As the ship dodged another barrage of plasma fire, Rowan activated the comms and hailed the nearest Zanthia fighter. Attention, Zanthia Squadron! This is Captain Rowan Vance of the Eclipse Runner. I have valuable information about your toxin program. Care to negotiate? Ellis stared at him, incredulous. Are you insane? They're shooting at us. Trust me, Rowan said, winking. They'll want to hear what I have to say. To Ellis's disbelief, the comms crackled to life with a response. The voice was harsh and insectal. You have 5 seconds to surrender before we obliterate your vessel. Rowan feigned offense. Now, let's not be hasty. I'm here to offer you something better. A way to ensure your toxin works against humans. The line went silent for a moment, and Rowan smirked. Got them, he muttered. Finally, the Zanthia replied. Speak quickly, human. What is this information? Rowan kept his tone casual. Your toxin is impressive, no doubt. But humans are unpredictable. Our biology adapts. What kills us today might make us stronger tomorrow. You're stalling, Ellis whispered, glaring at him. Rowan ignored him. If you want to guarantee success, you'll need an expert. Lucky for you, I know where to find one. But first, we need to talk terms. The Zanthia hesitated again before replying. We will consider your proposal. Transmit coordinates for a neutral meeting point. As the comms went silent, Ellis threw up his hands. What just happened? You're negotiating with the people trying to kill us? Not negotiating, Rowan corrected. Stalling. Ellis frowned. For what? Rowan grinned. Time to trace their comms. Lyra, were you able to get a location? The AI responded instantly. Coordinates pinpointed. The source of their comms leads to a planet in the Threlian sector. It is a known death bloom habitat. Bingo, Rowan said, punching in the new course. Let's pay them a visit. The Eclipse runner changed direction, accelerating toward the Threlian sector. Behind them, the Zanthia fighters broke off their pursuit, either convinced of Rowan's bluff or distracted by the decoys. As the ship slipped into hyperspace, Ellis shook his head. You're gambling with our lives, Captain. Rowan's grin widened. And yet we're still here. The journey to the Threlian sector was mercifully uneventful, giving the crew time to prepare. Zara, the ship's medic, examined the Deathbloom's properties while Jules, the engineer, reinforced the ship's defenses. The Deathbloom's toxins are incredibly potent, Zara explained, holding up a hollow sample of the plant. Even a trace amount could be fatal to most species. Good thing humans are stubborn, Rowan said, sipping a fresh cup of tea. We've faced worse. Zara gave him a pointed look. Let's hope your bravado holds up when we're surrounded by a field of these things. As the ship emerged from hyperspace, the planet loomed ahead, a lush, green world shrouded in mist. The death bloom fields stretched as far as the eye could see, their eerie, glowing flowers swaying in the wind. Welcome to the Garden of Death, Ellis muttered. Lovely place for a picnic, Rowan quipped. Let's find that factory. Lyra highlighted a structure nestled deep within the fields, its industrial silhouette standing out against the natural beauty. The crew exchanged determined looks. Gear up, Rowan said. We're about to crash their little operation. The Eclipse runner descended toward the planet, its engines humming softly. The Zanthia thought they were untouchable, hidden in their toxic paradise. They were about to learn the hard way that humans always found a way. Section 3. The atmosphere on the Threlian planet was thick with an acrid scent that burned the nostrils and coated the tongue. The death bloom fields stretched endlessly, their luminous flowers pulsing with an unsettling glow, as if alive. The Eclipse runner hovered just above a ridge, blending into the misty environment. Below, the Zanthia factory buzzed with activity, a stark contrast to the serene but toxic landscape. Rowan crouched at the edge of the ridge, peering through a set of binoculars. Beside him, Ellis muttered under his breath, adjusting his weapon. Behind them, Zara and Jules prepared their gear, their expressions a mixture of determination and unease. It's bigger than I expected, Rowan said, lowering the binoculars. Looks like they've been busy. More like overconfident, Ellis replied. They probably think no one's stupid enough to infiltrate a factory surrounded by poisonous death plants. Rowan smirked. Lucky for us, humans have a knack for stupidity. The factory itself was a fortress. Tall walls bristled with automated turrets, and the air shimmered faintly, indicating an energy shield. Zanthia workers scuttled about, transporting glowing vials of the toxin to waiting shuttles. Those shuttles are a problem, Zara said, pointing to the landing pads. If they get those toxins off planet, we're looking at galaxy-wide chaos. Rowan nodded. Then we don't let them leave. Jules, can you rig something to disable those shuttles? Jules grinned, pulling a small device from his pack. A remote EMP should do the trick. Just get me close enough to plant it. Great, Rowan said. Ellis, Zara, you'll cover Jules while he sets up. I'll create a distraction. Ellis groaned. Why do you always get the fun jobs? Because I'm the captain, Rowan replied with a wink. The plan unfolded with a mix of precision and chaos, as Rowan preferred. While Jules and the others moved through the shadows, Rowan made his way toward the factory's main gate, his hands raised in mock surrender. The Zanthia guards immediately aimed their weapons at him, their insectoid forms clicking with agitation. Intruder! One of them hissed. Rowan flashed his trademark grin. Easy there, fellas. I come in peace. Just wanted to chat about your flourishing business. The guards exchanged confused clicks before one of them stepped forward. You're the human from Zanthia. How did you find this place? Rowan shrugged, his grin widening. You left a trail. Honestly, I expected better from a species known for efficiency. The guards hesitated, clearly unsure of how to handle the situation. One raised a communicator, likely to call reinforcements, but Rowan moved faster. He pulled a small device from his pocket and tossed it toward them. It hit the ground with a metallic clink before releasing a cloud of thick, sparkling smoke. Surprise! Rowan called as he darted into the mist. The guards coughed and clicked in confusion, their vision obscured. Meanwhile, Jules and the others used the distraction to slip past the perimeter, heading for the landing pads. Distraction's working, Jules whispered through the comms. We're moving into position. Rowan ducked behind a stack of crates, scanning the area. The factory was now on high alert, guards rushing to secure the perimeter and shuttles powering up in preparation for departure. He activated his comm. Jules, you've got maybe 2 minutes before they scramble those shuttles. How's it looking? Almost there, Jules replied, his voice strained. Just keep them busy. Rowan grinned. Busy is my middle name. With a deep breath, he emerged from his hiding spot, firing his sidearm into the air. The noise drew immediate attention, and a squad of Zanthia rushed toward him. Hey, over here! Rowan shouted, sprinting away from the landing pads. You guys need better security! As the Zanthia pursued him, Zara and Ellis positioned themselves near the landing pads, picking off guards with precision shots. Jules, crouched behind a terminal, worked quickly to attach the EMP device to the shuttle's power grid. This is too easy, Zara muttered, taking down another guard. Where's the real resistance? As if on cue, a deafening roar echoed across the factory grounds. From the main building, a massive Zanthia construct emerged, a towering, multi-limbed machine bristling with weapons. Its glowing red eyes scanned the area before locking onto Rowan. Oh, great, Rowan muttered, glancing over his shoulder. A death bot. Just what I needed. The construct charged, its heavy footsteps shaking the ground. Rowan dove behind a stack of crates as a volley of plasma bolts tore through the air, reducing his cover to smoldering debris. Jules, how's that EMP coming? Rowan shouted, scrambling for another hiding spot. Almost done, Jules replied, his voice tight with concentration. Ellis fired at the construct, but the shots barely scratched its armor. We need something bigger to take this thing down. Working on it, Rowan called back, his mind racing. He spotted a stack of fuel canisters near the landing pads and grinned. Ellis, Zara, cover me! Rowan sprinted toward the canisters, dodging plasma fire and weaving through the chaos. As he reached the stack, he pulled a grenade from his belt, primed it, and tossed it toward the construct. Catch! He shouted. The grenade detonated with a deafening boom, engulfing the construct in a fiery explosion. The machine staggered, its armor cracked but still intact. Not enough, Rowan muttered, his grin fading. EMP's ready! Jules shouted, scrambling away from the terminal. Detonating in 3, 2, 1. The EMP activated with a blinding flash, sending a ripple of energy through the factory. The shuttles powered down, their engines sputtering to a halt. The construct froze mid-step, its red eyes flickering before going dark. Nice work! Rowan called, running back to regroup with the others. The Zanthia guards, now disoriented and without reinforcements, began to retreat. The crew seized the opportunity, taking out the remaining guards and securing the landing pads. Mission accomplished, Ellis said, lowering his weapon. For now. Rowan clapped Jules on the shoulder. Great job, team. Let's blow this place and make sure they can't rebuild. As the crew set charges around the factory, Rowan took a final look at the death bloom fields, their eerie glow undiminished by the chaos. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Captain, Zara said, snapping him out of his thoughts. We're ready. Rowan nodded. Then let's give them a show. The charges detonated as the Eclipse runner lifted off, the factory erupting in a cascade of fire and debris. From the safety of the ship, the crew watched as the flames consumed the Zanthia's operation. Think they got the message? Ellis asked, leaning back in his seat. Rowan smirked. If they didn't, we'll remind them. As the ship ascended into orbit, the crew prepared for the next phase of their journey. The battle wasn't over, but for now, they had struck a decisive blow against the Zanthia's plans. Section 4. The Eclipse runner soared through the toxic atmosphere of the Threlian planet, its engines leaving a faint vapor trail against the green-tinged sky. Below, the factory lay in ruins, a smoldering heap of metal and shattered infrastructure. The death bloom fields swayed eerily in the acrid wind, seemingly unbothered by the destruction of the operation they had supported. Inside the ship, the crew gathered on the bridge, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the consoles. The tension that had gripped them during the mission was beginning to ease, replaced by a cautious optimism. That's one less toxic factory to worry about, Zara said, leaning against the console. But I don't think the Zanthia are going to just let this slide. Ellis, adjusting his weapon holster, let out a humorless laugh. Oh, they'll be mad as hell. Probably already mobilizing a fleet. Rowan, sitting in the captain's chair with his usual confident posture, nodded. Good. Let them come. We've got what they don't, an advantage they'll never understand. Zara raised an eyebrow. Which is? Rowan lifted his cup of tea with a grin. Ingenuity and sheer stubbornness. Plus tea? Can't underestimate tea. The light-hearted moment was interrupted by Lyra, the ship's AI. Captain, I'm detecting multiple signatures exiting hyperspace in our vicinity. They appear to be Zanthia warships. Ellis muttered a curse. Spoke too soon. Rowan's grin didn't falter. Perfect timing. Let's see what they've got. The holoscreen lit up, displaying 3 massive Zanthia battleships bearing down on their position. Their sleek, insected designs gleamed ominously, and their energy signatures were far from friendly. Captain, they're hailing us, Lyra informed him. Rowan leaned forward. Put them through. The screen shifted to show the stern visage of a Zanthia commander. Its mandibles clicked angrily as it spoke. Human vessel, you have committed an unforgivable act of aggression. Surrender immediately, or face annihilation. Rowan smiled brightly. Commander, nice of you to drop by. I was just thinking we should chat. The Zanthia narrowed its glowing eyes. This is not a negotiation. Your destruction is inevitable. Right, Rowan replied, taking a sip of tea. Before you start firing, let me ask you something. How many more of those factories do you have hidden away? The commander hesitated for a fraction of a second, but Rowan caught it. He continued, his tone casual but firm. Because I can promise you this, no matter how many you've built, we'll find them. And we'll make sure they all go up in flames, just like this one. The Zanthia commander hissed angrily. You underestimate us, human. We will eradicate your kind. Rowan's grin turned sharp. Funny, I was about to say the same thing. He gestured to Lyra, who immediately powered up the ship's weapons. The Eclipse Runner wasn't built for direct combat with warships, but Rowan had never believed in playing fair. Ellis, target their engines. Zara, be ready to launch the decoys on my mark. Jules, get the EMP cannon online. Ellis raised an eyebrow. EMP cannon? We have one of those. Rowan winked. As of yesterday. Jules is good at improvising. The Zanthia ships opened fire, their plasma cannons lighting up the void. The Eclipse Runner weaved and rolled, dodging the deadly beams with practiced ease. They're faster than I expected, Zara noted, gripping her station. Good thing we're better, Rowan replied. Lyra, release the decoys. A swarm of glowing drones burst from the Eclipse Runner, scattering in all directions and confusing the Zanthia targeting systems. The battleships hesitated, their shots going wide as they tried to adjust. Now, Jules! Rowan called. The EMP cannon fired, sending a pulse of energy that rippled through space. One of the Zanthia ships shuddered and went dark, its systems fried. Direct hit! Jules shouted, pumping his fist. The remaining two ships quickly adjusted, their weapons focusing on the Eclipse Runner. The smaller vessel shook as a plasma blast grazed its hull, sending sparks flying inside. Shields at 70%, Lyra reported calmly. Still good, Rowan said, his grin unwavering. Ellis, hit their engines. Ellis unleashed a barrage of missiles, each one streaking toward the nearest Zanthia ship. The explosions rocked the massive vessel, its engine sputtering as it began to lose power. One down, one to go, Ellis said. The final Zanthia ship, undeterred, launched a swarm of drones toward the Eclipse Runner. The tiny, deadly machines closed the distance quickly, their energy weapons already charging. Zara, take care of those drones, Rowan ordered. On it, Zara replied, activating the ship's point defense systems. The automated turrets lit up, shredding the drones with precision fire. Captain, Lyra said, her tone uncharacteristically urgent. The remaining ship is preparing to ram us. Rowan's eyes narrowed. Not on my watch. Jules, can you overload the reactor pulse? Jules hesitated. It'll blow out half our systems, but yeah, I can do it. Do it, Rowan said. The Eclipse Runner's engines flared as Jules redirected power to the reactor. A blinding burst of energy shot from the ship, slamming into the charging Zanthia vessel. The massive ship shuddered, its hull fracturing under the force of the impact. Shields critical, Lyra warned as the Eclipse Runner trembled from the backlash. Hold together, girl, Rowan muttered. The Zanthia ship broke apart, its debris scattering into the void. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief as the danger finally passed. Damage report? Rowan asked, leaning back in his seat. Shields are down, and we've got a few fried systems, Jules replied. But we're still flying. Good enough, Rowan said. He turned to the crew. Another day, another near-death experience. Great work, everyone. Ellis shook his head. You're insane, Captain. Insanely effective, Rowan corrected, grinning. As the Eclipse Runner limped away from the battlefield, Rowan took a moment to reflect. The Zanthia had underestimated humanity, and they'd paid the price. But this was only the beginning. Lyra, he said, his tone serious. Start compiling a list of known death bloom habitats. We've got more work to do. The AI responded with a note of approval. Course of action logged, Captain. Zara folded her arms. So, what's the plan? We take down every one of their factories? Rowan's grin returned. Something like that. They wanted to see what humans could do. Let's show them. The stars stretched out before them as the Eclipse Runner accelerated into hyperspace. Behind them, the Threllian planet faded into the void, a testament to humanity's resilience and ingenuity. Rowan raised his cup of tea in a silent toast. The galaxy had thrown its worst at them, and they were just getting started.